Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Managing Director of Money 2020, Tracy Davis.
Good morning and welcome back to Money 2020. Just over a year ago, we were gathered here for the first ever Money 2020 outside of North America, and what a debut it was. Nearly 4,000 of you gathered here last year, and I'm delighted to see so many of you back here for our second show, and to welcome many new faces to experience the magic of Money 2020. And that magic is you. Our events are famous for bringing everyone together, the whole ecosystem that makes the digitization of money happen. Everyone, every time. This is the place where business gets done and where new collaborations and partnerships will be made in the coming days, and we are very proud of that. Now, Money 2020 was started to create a new type of event, one that understands that everyone needs to come together and work together to build the future of money. The original Money 2020, as many of you know, is in Las Vegas, now in its 6th year. In Europe, our debut show followed last year, and next year, in March 2018, we will launch Money 2020 Asia in Singapore. All three of our shows are very different, but they have one or lots of things in common. And that's bringing everyone together to witness the very best speakers, the freshest insights, and you're going to see that in a matter of moments on this very stage. There will be millions of product announcements. We have an expo floor of unrivaled diversity, and of course the high-impact networking. But what we like to do here, and I hope you've seen that in some of our styling, but we like a fun spirit. And to that end, we look forward to riding the roller coasters with you tomorrow night at Tivoli Gardens. So if you haven't signed up for our networking party, please go to the help desk. But I hope that you've seen that this is our last year in Copenhagen. On June the 4th to the 6th, 2018, we'll move to Amsterdam, to our new home at the Rhine. It gives us the space we need to support the growth of Money 2020 Europe for the coming years. We've had an incredible time building the event here in Copenhagen. We've loved working with the teams here at the Bella Centre and of course wonderful Copenhagen. But now to today, Money 2020 Europe is go. We've got the most incredible lineup in the next 3 days. We've got over 400 speakers, 7 stages. We've got our new arena stage in the upper expo hall. Many of you I saw in the atrium on your way through. It is filled with incredible, exciting features, white box challenges, tea lounges. And we have a new garden this year. And in light of our move to Amsterdam, we've created a Dutch theme. So thank you to our partners, Rabobank, UL, 5 Degrees, and Holland FinTech. We've got a brand new enlarged startup city, twice daily networking meetups at the Boulevard, and much, much more. But please make sure you download the app to ensure you don't miss anything. This year we've got new ways for you to connect. You can ask questions in all the sessions. So download if you haven't already. And finally, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you to you for supporting Money 2020, to all our speakers that you'll see in the next 3 days, to all our partners, our sponsors for making this such a success. I look forward to meeting as many as possible of you. You can connect directly with me too on the app. I hope you have an incredible experience. So now I'm going to leave you with your host for the next 3 days, Angela Lamont. Angela is a broadcaster, a producer, and co-founder of the Space Mission. I'm sure you'll hear more about that in the run of the keynotes in the next few days. So let's get this morning's keynotes underway. Thank you and goodbye.
ready for that look ahead for the week, and in fact to next year. And thank you also to DJ Libby for keeping the tunes spinning, especially as, surely at this time of day for a DJ, it's about time to pack up and go to bed, not to start work. So thank you for that. It's really good to be here with you in Copenhagen for our second Money 2020 Europe. And holy cow, there are a lot of you here. I'm Angela Lemon, and I'm here to help you get the most from the next few days as we kaboom through the awesome offerings that Tracy and the Money 2020 team have got lined up for us. Yes, you might have noticed there's a bit of a Comic-Con feel to this year's event. And no doubt with a loud kapow, we're about to start unleashing this year's marvellous speakers. But before we do, let's make sure you're all online. So the Wi-Fi is Gold Money, no password needed, so make sure you're on the Wi-Fi. Whilst you have your phones out, now would be the perfect time to switch them over to silent, and of course if you want to tweet, please feel free to do that, and you can use hashtag M2020EU, or you can include @Money2020 so that we can see what you're tweeting about and see your superhero selfies or whatever else you decide to post. Now, if at any time you should hear something that sounds less like a zap or a kapow and more like a fire alarm, it's probably the fire alarm. So, Scotty's not going to beam you out of this one. You need to get out of here faster than a speeding bullet. There are exits at the back there and at the side where you came in. There is no floor level lighting. This is the Bella Centre, not Ryanair. Now, in the track sessions later this morning, you have your opportunity to find out everything from post-truth banking and nasty fintech to how to go from minus 450 euros to 1 billion euros. And you can find out whether humans will last long in fraud prevention or whether it's really time to hand over to artificial intelligence. On this stage, to kick off the show, we have 4 short sessions from Barclays UK CEO Ashok Vaswani on open banking, Rabobank Chairman Viva Dreyer looking at beyond traditional banking, BBVA Chief Carlos Torres Vila on drivers of change, and right here, right now, I am delighted to introduce the living legend who is CEO and Chairman of Square, CEO of Twitter, and co-founder of both. He'll be interviewed by Jordan McKee from 451 Research. Now, one of my favourite quotes about Square was reading an article in Recode earlier this year, where the reporter wrote, with a kind of incredulous tone, Square Cash appears to be acting more and more like a bank. So, what is the next chapter in the story of Square? You know what? Easiest way to find out is to ask the guy. So please welcome Jack Dorsey with Jordan McKee.
Good morning. Jack, to start off, I'd first just like to say thank you on behalf of all of us here at Money 2020 for helping us kick off the first of what are going to be 3 great and very engaging days at the show, and more importantly, for sharing with us your perspectives on not only Square, but this industry that we're also passionate about. And so to begin, and really to create a foundation for the conversation, I think it'd be helpful to first, really understand the ethos of Square, because it's a company that's evolved so much over the years, from one that was first oriented exclusively around payment acceptance into one that has moved into a whole host of adjacent SMB services. So if you could, really ground us in who Square is and what it aspires to accomplish as an organization.
Wow, this is a big call. Thanks for having me. We started Square just over 8 years ago. And we started with a very simple idea. Really had no idea as to whether it would be a company or not, but it was solving a problem that our co-founder, Jim McKelvey, had, which was he was just not able to accept a credit card for a piece of glass art. And we simply wanted to solve that, to make that work, and to make that work with the phone that he had in his pocket, an iPhone. And we wanted to do that because it really pushed us to learn and to be curious about how this industry we didn't really understand worked, but if we did, it enabled him to participate in the economy. And we built a prototype in a month, and it actually worked. And we were able to move money from a card to his bank account in under a day, which felt amazing after a month of work. But what felt even more amazing is when we started talking with people and merchants that we found around our neighborhood. We started with this flower cart that was right under my studio apartment. And that's where we really learned the promise of the company, because we asked her, have you ever accepted credit cards? And she said, no, I tried to go to a bank to apply to accept credit cards, but I got denied. And we found out that, for the majority of sellers who were just getting started at that time, they weren't even able to get through that one gate of being able to accept credit cards in the first place. And she said, so I'm not going to do it again. It's just way too much work and it doesn't make sense for my business. Let's say cash holders. And in that moment, someone came up, asked to buy flowers. She said $20, handed over his credit card, and she said, don't accept credit cards, but there's an ATM around the corner. And he kind of shrugged his shoulders, goes off, walks around, goes to the ATM. We wait 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, never comes back. So in that moment she said, maybe I will try. And we realized it wasn't about swiping the card, but it was actually just about making the sale. And the biggest difference was if you were able to do it, you could participate fully in the economy, and if you weren't, you were locked out of the economy. So we started looking at it through that lens of let's make sure the seller can always make the sale, because that means they can always participate in the economy. And then our model became really simple. All we have to do is focus on making sure that the seller can make a sale. And if they can make a sale, it actually helps our business. So that model becomes, if we help the seller grow, we grow. And if we grow, we can help our sellers grow. And so we started looking at the most critical things in order to help a seller grow. One, accept a credit card. Two, give them access to funds faster than anywhere else. Three, give them analytics around what their business is doing, which caused us to build a point of sale, so they can make smarter decisions around investing in their business. And then four, proactively loaning them money so that they can also utilize that to buy marketing, to hire new employees, to rent a new location, which will increase their sales as well. So our model is this just really nice, simple, virtuous loop of all we have to do is focus on what is the most critical thing to help a seller make a sale and make more sales, and that goes back to us.
And so you've evolved over the years, over the past 7 or so years, not just from a product standpoint, but from a geographic standpoint. So you started in the US, you moved to Canada, Japan, more recently Australia, and most recently Europe, specifically in the UK. What has attracted you to the UK marketplace? And I guess more specifically, why do you believe you're going to succeed there in the face of so much competition, coming from not only Me Too competitors like Izettle and SumUp, but more established players like WorldPay and Sage?
Yeah, so we, going into a new market for us is a lot more challenging than other consumer internet services, and the reason why is because the local regulation is different in every single market. We have to partner with a local bank, so we do have to be really thoughtful about where we go next. We went to Canada because it was fairly easy, and then we went to Japan, which was extremely difficult, not only because they don't really accept credit cards or use credit cards all that much, but also everything there was a shift and a change. And we wanted to do that because we wanted to learn as quickly as possible. For instance, the only way to accept credit cards before Square in Japan was to actually do an in-person interview with an agent of the government. So we were the first ones to digitize that, and that was awesome. It was a massive market, but one that doesn't really utilize credit cards, and also a market that already had competitors in the space. So from that, we learned a bunch, but we also learned that we didn't necessarily have to be first. We just had to be the best. And best for us meant speed, it meant self-serve, it meant simplicity, and as long as we, and cohesion, and as long as we really build into those four attributes and bring those to bear in the market, we'll be great. So we weren't first in the UK, but it was an amazing market in the sense of the number of entrepreneurs, the number of small businesses in the market, where we thought we could bring some new models, especially around that concept of speed. We were the first ones to settle next business morning in the UK. And just something that seems little like that just goes such a far way for a business, because if you can access your funds faster, you can invest in your business much faster as well. We're really excited about our launch. It's still super early, but it resonated in the same way that other markets for us have. And the other thing that we were really proud of is, for the first time we launched a market, not just with payments, but with the whole suite of services, including our API in the UK, which was new for us. We kind of took a part-by-part approach in the past. Started with payments and point of sale, and then down the line, with UK we launched a bunch at once. And that felt a lot better because it meant that we were being more agile and more efficient in terms of our own development as a company.
So I want to unpack another component of your strategy, which you just alluded to, which is this concept of an open platform, which is very relevant here in Europe, particularly for banks. And it's been interesting to watch Square evolve over the years, because we've built an easy-to-interface with API that is inviting third parties to come in and build with Square. And I'm curious, how much emphasis are you placing on this open platform strategy, and more importantly, what value does it deliver to your customers?
We're putting a lot of emphasis on it because it allows us to reach customers that we weren't able to before, especially larger sellers. So, we're constrained by the number of people we have and how quickly we can move. But when you open it up to any developer, you remove that constraint. And as long as you provide very clear guidelines about what we're doing and what we should, expect to see as a company versus the API, there's a good relationship that builds. So what it's allowed us to do, for instance, is focus on a more horizontal point of sale. And developers can come in and make that a whole lot more vertical and specialized. That's not something that we are going to do, because we're always going to look for the commonalities. But it allows very specific, specialized retailers and restaurants and all types of merchants to have a lot more options around how to use us for payments, by choosing a point of sale that is made by a third-party developer, or hiring a third-party developer themselves and doing it themselves, or choosing, not to use any part of our point of sale, but just using our hardware, for instance, and using the payments from the hardware. So one of the first companies to open in the payment space an API for hardware, which we think is really meaningful because it allows just so many more answers and so many more ideas to flourish. So we think it gives us a superpower where we can reach people that we weren't able to reach before, but still provide them, something core to us, which is around payments and moving money.
Right. So what advice do you have for those in the audience that are perhaps just embarking on this open platform strategy and might be fearful that an open platform invites in competitors or perhaps disintermediates them from their customers? And do you have any guidance for those companies that are just starting to head down the path of an open platform?
I think, going after building an open platform, you start really focusing on one key question, which is what is core to us? Who are we and why are we? And what do we need to really make sure that we are focused on, so that there's no confusion as to what we do and what everyone else does. For us, it was around moving money, it was around payments itself. We were willing to see other aspects, including point of sale, because we knew that what we needed to do core to us was move money, and the more we could put payments everywhere, the better our business was going to be, and that allowed us to also introduce people to other things that we have to offer. So they may not take us for point of sale, but they may use our hardware and our payments, and then take us for square capital, so we can actually give them a loan. And we're just really clear internally about what we believed was important for us to protect and to continue to push and drive, and things that we wanted to see a lot more innovation outside of our role. So, as you start, just a real clarity of purpose of, this is us, this is what we need to defend, this is what we need to protect, this is what we need to continue to be leaders in, innovating, and everything else will contribute back to this. And then trust us, and make sure you provide really clear guidelines and communication and transparency around what you're doing and why.
So in that same vein of innovation, one of the major focal points here at the show is this concept of artificial intelligence. And we're at such an interesting inflection point in this space where the amount of data that we have accessible to us as organizations has never been greater. The tools to analyze that data are starting to mature, and this concept of artificial intelligence is finally starting to come to life. And I know that's been an area of passion for Square. It's been an area that you've experimented with and implemented into some of your processes. And I'd just be curious to hear, what does AI mean to Square, and how do you see it impacting both your business and that of your customers in the long term?
Well, so AI is a pretty broad term that encapsulates a bunch of thinking. A little bit more specific, it's machine learning, and a lot more specific than that is deep learning. And we've been using algorithms to manage data since the beginning of the company, and mainly around risk, and specifically minimizing risk on the platform. But by utilizing that technology for us, it actually meant that we could see more people, and we could make Square and the payments rail a whole lot more accessible. So we went from a world where there were probably less than 40% of people who applied to start accepting credit cards would actually get through the system. And we took that up to 98%. And that was all due to just using smart data science and algorithms to understand a person in an entirely new way. We've gotten a lot more sophisticated since then. Been applying a lot more in the field of machine learning and more deep learning. For us, number one is, the main benefit is we can make the rails in the financial system a lot more accessible, because we can have a deeper understanding of our customer, whether it be a seller or a buyer individual. And then number two is that we can actually make ourselves as a company more efficient. So we made a pretty hard choice in the early days. We didn't want to open this massive customer service center. We wanted to pair good technology with really smart people. And what patterns do we need to show people that they can quickly see if there is fraud, for instance, or if there is a coordinated attack? So finding that balance between the technology and this amazing ability of humans to pattern match was our goal. And we built all these visualizations for our risk and compliance folks to understand that in real time. The same thing is true for support and sales. So we've been applying machine learning to understand when a customer might need help, or when a customer might be open to taking on a new service or product from us as well. So little reminders to our agents that this is someone that you could actually reach out to right now. And then third is really just around creating more magical experiences for our customers. So We've done a lot in terms of understanding the payment relationship to the seller, and I'm pretty excited to utilize that technology further. But it's really a technology that helps speed up what humans can actually do, and to do so at a massive scale. And for us, it means accessibility, it means efficiency, and it means a more magical experience.
So on the topic of technology buzzwords, this ongoing conversation around the Internet of Things continues to bubble up to the surface, and many in the room are thinking of this as an opportunity to expand the acceptance network. And as that happens, there's the possibility that the physical card disappears and that it's just a token or some sort of digital surrogate that acts on behalf of the card. Does Square think about a time when the card perhaps disappears, when plastic is no longer? And if so, what does your business look like in that world?
I can't wait for the thing. I don't want to carry anything, and we're so close. But the card was designed in a pretty beautiful way because the whole payments infrastructure gracefully degrades to the least common denominator, and I think that's really powerful. If you do have the technology where you don't have to carry a piece of plastic, or you can use your voice and you can talk to actually make a transaction, that's amazing. But if all technology fails, you can still rub the number on top in carbon paper. It's just a really beautifully designed system, and all in the spirit of making sure that the seller can always make the sale. So as long as we're designing going forward for that graceful degradation to the lowest common denominator, I think we're doing the right thing, because it allows more people to participate and make sure that the seller is always making the sale and the customers always get what they want. But yeah, I can't wait for all these objects to disappear, because it feels like the right thing to do, but also it's definitely it definitely puts the focus back on not the payment, not the transaction, but what you're actually paying for.
Right.
And that's where the focus should be: is the experience, or the coffee, or dinner, or whatever you're having. That's where we should put the focus, not on the transaction.
So we're nearing the end of our time, Jack, but I do have one final question. There are so many entrepreneurs in the audience, and Money 2020 over the years has been a home for startups and a launch pad for startups. And as a successful player in this space and someone who's launched several companies, what guidance would you give to those in the room that are just starting off on this journey and just getting ready to build something beautiful and creative?
I think that the biggest thing for us back in the day, especially when we were just getting started, it was you have so many ideas, and you start talking about like what if, instead of just doing it and just making it. And the faster you can get to making it, and the faster you can really create that time to build the idea, to write the code, the faster you're going to be able to answer questions, and the faster you'll be able to attract people to your idea and to what you're doing. And as soon as you get to that space where you actually have something to play with and something tangible, that's when the real learning starts, and that's when you get going. So get out of Keynote, get out of PowerPoint, and just start building and start showing it off to people and learning as quickly as possible. We would not talk with anyone, VCs, investors, customers, other people we're trying to hire, until we had something to show. And in Square's case, until we had something that we could actually take money from them off their credit card.
That's great advice. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We've hit our 20-minute mark. But ladies and gentlemen, please, a round of applause for Jack Dorsey.
Thank you very much, Jack and Jordan. Fantastic stuff there, especially for startups, avoiding the getting stuck at what if bit. And I think we all need to adopt that motto, don't we? We don't necessarily have to be the first, but we all want to be the best. Now, our next speaker is absolutely passionate that big can be beautiful. Some of the things that may occur and crop up in the next 20 minutes are open banking, voice recognition, helping everyone from children to pensioners, and eagles. I'll let the man himself explain. Please welcome Barclays UK CEO, Ashok Vaswani.
Wow, it's nice to be here. I was just wondering whether Angela had got us, the new cool guys sitting on the sofa while guys like us have to kind of walk up and down this kind of stage anyway. It is what it is. I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a story which is the next chapter in the history of a 327-year-old bank. Yeah, you heard that right. 327 years old, right? 327 years old, we are older than the Bank of England. We are older than the United States of America. Wow, that makes us really quite old, right? But the beauty about this is that change and innovation and how you do things is just built into our DNA. We have seen 2 world wars in our recent history. 2 world wars, we've seen the agricultural revolution, we've seen the industrial revolution, we're now seeing the digital revolution. And we've kind of prospered and moved along in all of these last 300 years. Change and innovation is built into our DNA. So why do I think that we will win in this day and age? And that's the case that I'm really going to lay out to you this morning. First things first, let's go back a little bit in history and let's try and understand what happened. And every time as you go back in history and you look, every time we've stayed true to meeting a societal need, to meeting a societal purpose, we have come out ahead. We have come out ahead. By the way, tomorrow is the birthday, the 50th birthday of the ATM. And the first ATM was launched in 1967 in Enfield branch, in Enfield town in the UK. The first ATM in the world, right? Tomorrow, coincidentally, is the birthday. So every time you meet a societal purpose, I think you kind of get ahead. I sincerely believe that every single company must define a societal purpose. What's the point of, having another company, another bank, any other company which does not meet a societal purpose? If you meet a societal purpose, then, you can thrive and prosper, because ultimately, what is society? Society is just an amalgamation of customers and prospects. So within that context, what is the societal purpose that a bank like Barclays brings to play? And we have decided that this is not going to be about product innovation and stuff like that. This is going to be truly about the way we serve our customers. And our goal is to help take our customers forward. So our overriding purpose is #Let'sGoForward. #Let'sGoForward means taking all customer segments forward, from wherever they are today to wherever they want to go. This is not about taking them on a uniform path. This is taking them on the path that they've designed for themselves. Why is this relevant? This is relevant because more and more we are living in a very, very connected world. So if you think about it, in 2012, the penetration of smartphones in the UK was 34%. Today, the penetration of smartphones in the UK is 84%. I'm sure everybody in this room has a smartphone, if not 2. With the change, with all this computing power in your pocket, the way you live, the way you work, the way you entertain, the way you interact, the way you do things, all become very, very, very connected. It's amazing how, the physicality of stuff is gone. Your salary, your sales credits all get credited to your account, automatically get debited. It feels like a game, in, out, and essentially you're left with nothing at the end of the month. But that's kind of the ins and outs that keep happening, literally like a computer game. So we're living in this hugely interconnected world, and the level of connection is only going up. And the level of connection is only going up. I mean, you'll hear a lot about Internet of Things, and you'll hear about, how you can connect now on conversational platforms. And the truth is that we're just increasing the level of connectedness every single day. Now, virtually every single thing that you do requires money. Money, finance, oils, a lot of activity. So in this truly connected world, finance oils a lot of these things that we do, and therefore, in helping our customers move forward, we have to deliver truly connected finance. So our strategy is essentially #truly connected finance. Our purpose is let's go forward through truly connected finance. Now, just think about it. Think about the time when you put your credit card or your debit card into your iTunes account, or into your Uber account, or into Amazon Prime, and automatically you're buying and selling things, and automatically those debits and credits are kind of taking place in a very seamless, interconnected way. That's a classic example of truly connected finance. So what does this really mean? What this means is that we have to become truly passionate about the customer, and deliver personalized and perfect transactions, services, relationships. And that's how we will deliver truly connected finance. Let me put that a little bit into perspective, because that's kind of like a 50-foot statement. What does that really mean when you bring it down to perspective? And let me bring it down to 3 examples that I want to share with you. The first example I want to share with you is really about how this interconnected world is creating new business models. Every time something like the internet and the mobile comes along, the first thing normally people do is take whatever they're doing at that point in time and just put it on the internet or put it on the mobile. But the real power of either the internet or the mobile has all been about the creation of new business models. So how are we going about creating these new business models? Now, if you think about it, in the UK, we have 24 million customers. So if you say there are 63 million people in the UK, humor me and say 15 million of those are kids under the age of 15. That leaves 48. In some shape or form, we are touching 1 out of every 2 people, 2 persons in the UK. We've got banking relationships with over 1 million small business customers, and we obviously deal with 25,000 corporates. Now, it has to be that there's a lot of activity, there's a lot of things that these SMEs, individuals and corporates are doing with each other. And as they're doing things with each other, if we can become the platform on which this activity happens, that would be a new business model that delivers significant value, primarily first to our customers and our clients, and then secondly to us as the bank. So let me give you 2 use cases on that kind of thing. The first use case is really about getting our corporate clients to become in great connection with their customers, their most valuable customers. So how do we allow corporate clients actually reward who their best customers are? How do they get to know much more detail? Whether that corporate client is in retail, whether that corporate client is in the film business, whether that corporate client is in pharmaceuticals. How do we connect this and allow those corporate clients to provide great value to their retail customers? Now, this is the program that we've launched. It's called Blue, and Blue has got over 1 million customers right now on it, which allow our corporate clients to actually reach out to their most favorite customers, providing them with rewards and therefore earning their loyalty. So this is a classic use case of us being the platform where we can derive connected value. The second one is a very interesting one for small businesses. So you think about a small business, and a small business, the first and most important thing is cash flow. So obviously the bank account gives him or her all the details of the cash flow, but does that allow for the level of analytics that the small business person needs? The small business person is really pushed hard for time, and therefore if we can create an entire portal if we can create an entire portal which not only provides the cash flow, but provides not only the analytics, which we can of course provide, but competitive analysis, which we can also provide. Also the access to other services that the small business may need. So if we can become the portal through which the small business person can actually run their entire business, that becomes a very, very powerful kind of proposition. Now we've launched this, we call it Smart Business, and our customers are absolutely loving it, because in one place they can get not only their financial information, they can get comparative analytics, as well as access to a whole bunch of other services like tax, accounting, creating a website, all that kind of stuff, all done in one place, done very easily, and kind of gone along. So huge benefit to our clients and big benefit to the bank. So this is the thing about how you develop new business models as you get into this interconnected kind of world. Let me take a second case and basically say that in this day and age, there is so much happening. I don't know how many fintechs are in this audience. Everybody has got this great idea and everybody is kind of powering ahead. It's really, really hard. It's really hard to figure out where do you want to take the bet and who do you want to take the bet with and how do you kind of move forward. It's even more difficult, and I would say foolhardy, to think that you can do it all by yourself. In this interconnected world, we have to get into the highest degrees of collaboration. So what have we done about this? How do you really collaborate at scale? So here's what we've done about this. We have created two programs. Our first program is a platform that we call the RISE. The RISE is a fintech platform and it's an accelerator. These accelerators are based in Bombay, Tel Aviv,